Hello, this is Michael Suarez, your real estate and loan professional. I'm real excited to be on this video with you today. And the topic that I'm going to be discussing with you is rental income. And this is a common topic that is discussed with investors on a monthly basis. And some of the points that I'm going to cover on this video are points that I make aware to those who are investing in real estate as a consultation in the beginning and during the year when we review property performances and other interests that the investors may have. So I'm just going to cover a few points here real quick. Rental income. What is rental income? In general, all compensation you receive as rent on real property you rent or lease, money, property, or services. I think that speaks for itself. Rental income topic categories for today are going to be payment for canceling a lease, expenses paid by tenant, property or services, security deposits, advance rent. And these are some very common occurrences for property owners. For example, you might have a 3-year lease, and somebody needs to get out of that 3-year lease 2.5 years in. That's not an uncommon. But I'll give you some examples as I continue here. When to report rental income? This question comes up a lot. As a cash basis taxpayer, you would report rental income on your tax return for the year you actually receive it. Now, you are a tax basis taxpayer if you report income in the year you receive it, regardless of when it was earned. If you were on an accrual accounting like a corporation, then it could be recorded in a previous month or a previous quarter on accrual accounting. But most investors are not set up as a corporation, buying and selling property out of a corporation because of the tax consequences for doing so. So most of us are individuals, taxpayers, so we're on a cash basis. So we report income when we receive it. Now, you constructively receive income when it is made available to you. So, for example, you earned some rent for the first quarter of 2010, and you got a check in the mail in June of 2010. That's when you earned the income, is when you received it. Payment for lease cancellation. Here's our first topic. If your tenant pays you to cancel a lease, the amount you receive is rent. And you want to include that payment in your income in the year you receive it, regardless of your method of accounting. So, as my previous example, you had a 3-year lease and you have a tenant that needs to get out. It's July of 2010. They say they pay you for the last 6 months or something that you negotiate for them to get out of the lease, and you receive that payment in August. That is income for that part of the year. That's how that works. Expenses paid by tenant. If your tenant pays any of your expenses, the payments are rental income. You must include them in your income. You can deduct the expenses if they are deductible rental expenses. For example, you may own a property a couple states away or a few hundred miles away, and there was a problem with the plumbing, and that owner, that tenant, has to have those repairs done immediately. They take the initiative, they get some estimates, you agree that they're just going to get the repairs done and send you the bill, and then you're going to reimburse them. These improvements, these repairs I should say, are considered operating costs because you're having to repair the damage to bring the property or the unit back up to par for the tenant. So it's just like if you actually got on a plane or got in your car and got down there, looked at the estimates yourself, and just paid the person who was going to do the repairs. That's what we're talking about here, expenses paid by tenant. Bartering, or property or services. If you receive property or services instead of money as rent, you include the fair market value of the property or service in your rental income. If the services are provided at an agreed upon or specified price, that price is the fair market value unless there is evidence to the contrary. And integrity is what a big point I want to make here is that you don't want to lie about your income when it comes to owning property. If you're going to exchange property or services for rent, it doesn't make sense. There's too much value wrapped up in the property as an investor. You don't want to accept a $1,500 plasma TV and indicate that it was $500. You're going to get called on that. It's just don't do it. Just use a fair market value or an agreed upon value that is very close to a fair market value, and just be honest. Security deposits. It's a big occurrence. What do you do with security deposits? Okay, well here's the rule. Do not include a security deposit in your income when you receive it if you plan to return it to your tenant at the end of the lease. But if you keep part or all of the security deposit during any year because your tenant, here's the key, because your tenant does not live up to the terms of the lease, include the amount you keep in your income in that year. So you might have a security deposit of $1,000. Something goes awry. You cash out $600 in October of 2010. That $600 is considered rental income. If any amount called a security deposit is to be used as a final payment of rent, this is advance rent. You want to include that in your income when you receive it. So let's say that, I'm going to give you an example on advance rent here. Advance rent. Advance rent is any amount you receive before the period that it covers. Include advance rent in your rental income in the year you receive it, regardless of the period covered or the method of accounting used. Now let me give you a quick example here. Let's say your tenant signs a 10-year lease to rent your property. In the first year you receive $5,000 rent and $5,000 as rent for the last year of the lease, year 10. You receive it up front. Then you must include the $10,000 in your income in the first year. So going back to our first definition, what is rental income? In general, all compensation you receive as rent on real property you rent or lease. That's our real estate topic, is rental income. My name is Michael Suarez, your real estate and loan professional. If you have any questions about real estate, you can reach me at 800-517-5249. 800-517-5249.